If you've got all this sort of browser-based type activity going on, we all know that can collect a vast amount of data about the user. And that's another interesting question about who's going to take responsibility for that. I mean, if you're the network provider, but you're no longer the provider of every single service that comes over that network, but you're in the same way as you may well take the blame if somebody else's device or piece of network goes wrong, you'll probably also take the blame if some of their personal data leaks.
Yes, that's a big challenge for us. I mean, it's a challenge even with our own applications and the data, much less third parties. And I mean, it's a problem that folks like Apple have to deal with as well, so it's sort of a universal problem.
I mean, you guys are in the security business from the outbound side, if you like, in terms of protecting the program owner's rights. I mean, do you have anything to offer in terms of protecting the user's rights?
We have been looking into the concept of personal rights management because I think going forward there probably is a lot of opportunity for consumers to, in a way that's as easy as possible, take more control over the increasing amount of content that they themselves generate. So I think in the future this may be a trend, and maybe even a service that service providers like Cox and others could offer, is to say, listen, if you have photos, documents, data, etc., that you don't want to get out into the world in an uncontrolled fashion, then we can help you. We can help you encrypt these and make sure they're safe. The complexity of some of these things, like privacy settings, etc., is a warning to us that we must not allow our technology to get out ahead of what our consumers are able to work with and enjoy on a daily basis. And in some cases, the horse is out of the barn. And the question of privacy, for instance, we need to continue to give customers better ways to manage that. But we as an industry, especially during times of recession, I think, have a tendency to create technology that may be too far ahead of consumer demand and ability to understand it. So it's good that also during recession, I think a lot of companies get back to basics and focus on, okay, what do consumers really want? What's going to add value to them? What's going to add value to our bottom line?
And in terms of that sort of provision and the home gateway and then the home network beyond it and managing it, I mean, is that something that needs a device in the home, or is that something that can be increasingly done from the cloud? Whoever's doing it?
I think it needs a device in the home, because in the end that's where the content gets delivered, that's where it has to be translated to the proper formats, DRM formats also, be it Wi-Fi, Mocha, some other home networking technology. So of course where the content is, or potentially you can do transcoding also in the cloud, potentially, but I think in the end it will need a device. You need something in the home.
Jeff?
Well, you know, if you look at some of the standards that have been developed, like in the DSL space at TR69, to be able to manage these networks or these gateways within the home, I think you need the ability to provide a service provider the visibility into the device so that they can do some diagnostics that if you've got an uninitiated user, it makes it so that they can at least do some top-level diagnostics and see if there's, you know, a loop back you can do. Hey, we're getting to the device. Yeah, we can see that this port is active, this port's active. You know, so I think that type of capability is a necessary thing for within the cloud, if you will.
And presumably the actual provision of a device is still something that you can kind of hang a service on. So even if it's possible to do it from the cloud, you might prefer to provide a device to the home.
I think if you look up the stack of what a gateway functionality is, the lower you are to the bottom, the more it's going to sit in the device in the home. Like, we have to terminate our network with a DOCSIS modem that has to be in the home. I mean, that's what it is. Now, layer up transcripting, probably in the home. You know, probably makes the most sense. Layer up from that sort of management of that. You know, the higher you get up, the more stuff moves back into the cloud, the lower you get. Now, no two people will define that line the same way, but the more it's service or management, the more it starts to move back into the cloud, because it's really difficult to manage applications on devices in the home. It's much easier to manage than in the cloud. So there's not a fine line, but if you look at sort of the Cable Labs right now is producing a specification for a home gateway, and if you look at it, it's kind of that balance, somewhere in the middle.
And something as simple, or as relatively simple as transcoding, if you do it in the box, is pretty difficult to do, and then stream it in from a bandwidth point of view.
Right. So there'll be an option. Some people, if they only want limited transcoding solutions, might put some chip in the box. Other people might deliver, if they're an IPTV and they're delivering individual unicast streams anyway, they would probably do the transcoding in the head end and then just send the stream to the end device.
Presumably not having a device in the home would bring additional security concerns anyway.
I don't think so. I think security is to the point where it can be handled in a device in the home network, or it can be handled from the cloud as well, as long as the device is supported as well. And what I think we see at Irdetto as a positive trend is the trend towards applications on mobile phones especially, where you can actually build the security into the application itself. That makes it a lot more flexible for us and for our customers to be able to meet content provider licensing requirements. But back to the core question of, is it about the gateway or is it about the cloud? I think the answer is somewhere in the middle, and it's going to depend on the customer that you're talking about. One of our largest and most important customers in South Africa has great content, exclusive content, a great user experience, tons of satellite capacity, and really poor broadband. For them, the ability to have a very smart gateway in the home that collects lots of content, that prepares it for use across the home network, et cetera, is a great option because of the fact that they're not going to be able to provide those services from the cloud over broadband. A customer like Ziggo in the Netherlands, for instance, is much more capable with 120 megabits per second in DOCSIS 3 to offer almost everything if they wanted to through the cloud, because they want to do that not only to the TV set but also to any device that the consumer owns. So in the end, it's going to be about, as you say in the UK, horses for courses, the right solution for the right situation. And it's very often, almost always, going to be a hybrid of the two.